Hello and welcome back to SuperCoach Edge, and I am rolling solo here today as Liam is unfortunately unavailable, but hey, it means that I can finally say for the first time in 2025, I'm the captain now, even though I've kind of said it before in previous episodes, but you get the picture. And we figure even though there will be episodes throughout, potentially in season as well, where one of us won't be able to make it, but we figure that we've got to keep things ticking over. And especially during the all-important time of the preseason to do with the practice games, which will be kicking off very, very soon. And before we kick into this episode, I just want to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your support thus far across the preseason. On YouTube, we're actually just 50 subscribers away from our goal of hitting 2K subscribers before the start of the season. I mean, it's just an incredible support to have all of you tuning in from week to week, but then to go that next level and to subscribe to our platform here on YouTube, it is always humbling to see that support. So thank you so much to those of you that have subscribed thus far. And likewise to those that are yet to subscribe, if you feel like doing so, if you are enjoying our content, the best way to let us know, as I always say, is to do so via a subscribe. So again, as I said, we're trying to hit our goal subscription mark of 2K, and I think at this stage, as I'm recording this, let me just flick across and we'll double check. Yes, we are 48 subscribers away from hitting that 2K mark. So as I said, if you can help us get there, that would be absolutely fantastic. And I guess putting us on your backs virtually as a collective, the SuperCoach Edge community, in helping us get over the line. So that's absolutely incredible. The support, again, thank you so much. Now, before we kick things off, of course, don't forget to follow us across our various social channels to keep up to date with both our content and also the news as it drops across preseason. So on YouTube, simply search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget, of course, to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell as well to be notified of when our content does drop. Spotify, Apple Pods. If you do listen to us across those means, don't forget to give us 5 stars. Give us 10, you can try, but it won't let you. And likewise as well, if you have a bit of time up your sleeve, feel free to give us a review as well. And Twitter, you can find us at supercoach_edge. I am available at DamoJ88, and Liam is at LiamEvans_95. Here we go, Liam. Can I go faultless? Facebook, Insta, and TikTok, you can find us just at SuperCoach Edge. I think I nailed that. I'll have to get his feedback when we reconvene for the next episode. And of course, as viewers and listeners, as you would have seen/heard at the back end of our last episode, we were undecided as to what area of the field we were wanting to analyze next. So we did seek the help of the all-seeing, the all-knowing wheel randomizer, otherwise known as the Wheel of Misfortune, as we've dubbed it, that we've used in the past for random giveaways, merch giveaways, all that sort of stuff. And it did feel a bit like we were seeking the help of the magic mirror on the wall, the old Disney classic, asking who is the fairest of them all. And unfortunately, it spat out for us defenders as the next line that we're about to analyse. So it turns out itself isn't really the fairest as we would have liked the juicier midfielders to chat about, of course, but that will have to wait another week. So we kick things off now with defender Premos. And of course, if you missed our previous 3 episodes where we were analysing Premos, mid-prices/value selections and rookies in the forward line, feel free to go and check that out as well. But let's get into it. And first and foremost, first cab off the rank, we have Sam Flanders, priced at 641.5k as a defender midfielder. 2024 average was a whopping 119, so he absolutely burst out of the blocks and took his game to another level like we all expected. In 2025, unfortunately, he does have 2 buys, the early buy in round 2 and round 14 as well. And Flanders, he comes into 2025 off, as I said, a huge 2024 where he averaged the 119 with 19.6% ownership. He's a very solid pick, but is he a lock? His round 2 and round 14 buys are manageable, but the real concern is his lingering back injury, which has cropped up in recent weeks across the preseason and which has kept him off the training track and puts his round 1 availability in doubt. Adding to the mix is Dan Rioli's arrival at the Suns. Will this maybe impact Flanders, or will he maintain his role and ability to score? At his price, he's probably a little bit of a risk-reward option. Worth it if fit, but with early uncertainty, you might want a backup plan. So just keep watch on that. Unsure if he's going to be playing in the official preseason game for the Suns. If he does, we'll still keep watching him, of course, in terms of his durability and fitness. But if he does miss, it's going to make it a little bit awkward for all of us to really have the confidence to start him in our teams. At that price point, 641.5k, He is an interesting prospect, but yeah, he's probably someone that you can maybe hold off. As I've said previously, I'm not a massive fan of I guess overloading on the 600k plus players because of the fact that more often than not they do have a bit of an off game, sometimes back-to-back off games, and it means that their price does plummet. So you can get them at a juicier price point in season. So he's one that I'm sort of keeping in mind with that respect there. But given the fact that he was so consistent, if you do want to start him, provided he is fit, I wouldn't hold it against you. Next up, we have one of my favourites in defence as a primo. It is Harry SHEEZEL, priced at 635.6k as a defender. 2024 average is 118 and only has the one bye as well, which is super handy in round 12. And Harry SHEEZEL, I speak of popularity, he is sitting currently in 53.8% of teams, and for good reason. So he averaged the 118 in 2024, but if you look at his back part of the season, he looked really, really good. He started in the first part of the season with an average of 115.2 and stepped it up to 121 in the second half of the season. And a lot of that uptick in scoring came off increased CBA percentages. So that is really something that is conducive to his scoring off the back of that. With DPP status incoming, you would think post round 6 and with Wardlaw out, his CBA count should rise off the back of 31% last year, boosting his scoring potential. And also with another year under his belt, he should be more comfortable in the role, you would think. And whilst he could have less cheap touches, I guess you would say, off the half back line, he'll definitely have as much, if not more, impact. And despite the difficulty of a round 12 bye, there's no overthinking this one. He is a lock, load, and move on. I have heard some people say that he's not as clear-cut as what it may seem, and totally understand that and respect that. But I just think in terms of when we're talking about the higher priced primos, he comes with a sense of security that we saw last season that isn't affected depending on his role. So playing halfback, playing the midfield, doesn't matter. This bloke, such is his quality, such is the quality of his possessions and distribution of the ball. He is someone that is just super coach relevant no matter where he plays. So very, very bullish about She's Nuts. Let's move on to the next candidate, and it is Luke Ryan, 628.3k as a defender. 2024 average was 116.6 and has the round 13 bye in 2025. And then Ryan, he posted a career best average of 116.6, which consisted of 15 100 plus scores and 10 120 plus across 23 games. And his role as the undisputed kick-out king, that continued with his 149 total light years ahead of Clark's 49 as the next best total. Now, he is an intriguing pick at 8.4% ownership as a pod, but his scoring trend raises concerns. In 2024, he was elite pre-bye with 129.9 average, if you don't mind, but that dropped to 102 after, mirroring a similar decline that he had in 2023. And if Freo sticks with a faster game plan and Ryan is made to play more accountable, he might see fewer cheap possessions, limiting his ceiling as he won't be seagulling it up, as we like to call it. Now, the big plus, though, is his round 13 bye, which is the easiest to cover. And if you back him to maintain early season form, he's probably a solid pod, but recent history suggests a mid-year fade could potentially creep in yet again, so plan accordingly. But it does come down to how the coach does want to structure his defense. He got criticised early days in 2024 for the fact that they were sort of over-possessing the footy in the back half, and hence the reason why he adjusted that. And off the back of that, Luke Ryan was impacted. So big watch on that and really assess from there. But I think at that price point, 628.3k, as I was talking about with SHEEZEL, I'd much prefer to pay an extra 7k in order to get SHEEZEL in my side, who will get DPP compared to Luke Ryan, who has a couple of question marks still on him. Let's move on to Lachie Whitfield, priced at 598.1k. 2024 average was 111, and he does have, unfortunately, two buys, the round 2 bye and the round 16 bye. Now, Whitfield, he had a Jekyll and Hyde season in 2024. He started slow, averaging just 99.2 in the first half, but then turned it on, averaging a blistering 121.8 in the final 12 games. And that late season surge saw him have only one score below 100, which was, albeit a respectable 97 against the Lions, which shows his ceiling when he's in form and a potential floor as well. Underlining his dominance over this period, he took out the highest average of all defenders in the second half of the season with that whopping 121.8 average, and eclipsed 100 scores or 100 plus scores in 19 of his 25 games total, and 120 plus in 7 of those games as well, which does include finals. As the running halfback distributor, Whitfield's role is roll gold, as we know, in SuperCoach. And it's just great to see as well, just playing in a position that is conducive to not only scoring, but also the Giants benefiting the most from his strength as well. Post the Leon Cameron era, we've actually been treated to, Whitfield of old that we know, who is a reliable scorer. He is owned by just 10.4%, so he is a tempting pod. However, the round 2 buy is a negative depending on how many others you own with that same buy. But if you can survive that early hit and trust his late season form to carry over into the 2025 season, Whitfield could be a nice pick in your defense. So for me personally, he's burnt me countless times, but I think I'll wipe the slate clean and I'll consider him now, I think, because I had an opportunity to actually get him in my side late season in 2024. And I went against that because of the fact that I was burnt previously in another season due to injury and whatnot, because durability with him hasn't been the best, but he is a very reliable scorer. So for me, he's under consideration and we'll just have to wait and see across the preseason. But I do like him at a touch under 600k. Moving on now to Jack Sinclair, another candidate that I really, really like, priced at 592.2k as a defender midfielder, so handy DPP. 2024 average is 109.9. And he does have the buy in round 13, that really favourable buy. And it really was a season of two halves for Sinclair, as he got off to a very, very slow start, only averaging 99.5 from rounds 1 to 12, but came home like winks, averaging 120.4 for the last 12 rounds, which ranks him as the 4th highest averaging defender on Formline. Had a very healthy 1.07 points per minute, which has him ranked 3rd for defenders in 2024 behind Flanders and SHEEZEL. So knows how to find the pill and knows how to score SuperCoach points, which is very, very handy. But his scoring will heavily depend on his role. If he plays off halfback, he's a proven premium. But if he does shift into the midfield, especially early with Philippou out, his scoring can potentially fluctuate. The saving grace here, though, is the inclusion of McRae, which will help cover a bulk of that slack naturally, but the prospect of him getting some mid-minutes via rotation could be a real possibility. The good news, however, is he does have, as I said, that very favourable round 13 buy, so that's another big tick for him. And if he's stationed in defence full-time, I think personally, for me anyway, he's a lock. If he's on ball a bit more than he should be, I think in my eyes, his appeal does lessen slightly, but should be well and truly in the hunt for being a top 6 scoring defender, I think, nonetheless. He has shown that he can score well as well when he plays in the midfield, but not as consistent, I don't think, compared to when he is playing that, rebounding, quarterback role off halfback, as they call it. So having said all that, he's in my side currently, but he is one to watch. And I think in recent weeks as well, he had a bit of a hamstring awareness. So just want to keep watch on that, obviously, with durability as well. Next up, we do have Dan Houston. Bit of a smoky here, priced at 575.6k as a defender, obviously. 2024 average is 106.8, which was his career best. And he does have, unfortunately, 2 buys in round 3 and round 14. Now, Houston, he does find himself in the black and white stripes for the 2025 season after crossing from Port, but he won't make his debut until round 1, forced to miss the opening round game due to a late season suspension in 2024 that carries over. Now, the downside here is the fact that we won't be able to get, what we call a free look at Houston in action as he sees, a bit of game time in defense for the Pies, and gives us an opportunity to really see how he fits into their defense before we make the decision to, lock or load him or let him, slide as we construct our sides for round 1. But there shouldn't be any denying that he'll be leaned upon as one of the main rebound distributors for Collingwood, especially with the departure of John Noble. He does rank equal last alongside Clark, however, of the top 10 defenders in terms of scores above 120, with just 4 in 2024, highlighting struggles with his scoring ceiling across the season. However, having said that, he did have 10 and 6 120 plus scores in 2023 and 2022, so has previously shown that he does have the ability to hit those heights. And are these heights, potentially something that he can return to in 2025? We'll just have to wait and see. But obviously a close watch across the preseason games because we won't get that free look in round 0. Let's move on to the next candidate in Jordan Clark, priced at 563.7k. His 2024 average is 104.6, which was his career best, and only has the one buy, that favourable buy, in round 13. Now, the big improvement in Clark's average, lifting from 82.5 to 104.6 in 2024, came largely off the back of increased disposals, up from an average of 19.1 in 2023 to 24.6 in 2024. So getting the ball in his hands and getting more usage coming out of Freo's defense was a big element. In terms of downsides, as was noted with Houston, Clark sits alongside him of the top 10 defenders in terms of those high ceiling scores of 120 plus, where he posted just the 4. But when it comes to his high floor, he actually ranks the 5th best overall of all defenders, scoring 16 100 plus scores. So very reliable in that respect. And as was the case with his teammate Ryan, he too had his average drop from 107 in the first half of the season to 101.3 in the latter half, presumably off the back of Longmuir adjusting the ball use of the Freo defense and the structure overall in the back half. So he's someone to look at. He's not on the radar for me at the moment, but I can see the appeal. Let's move on to NASIAH Wanganeen-MILERA, priced at 543.7k. 2024 average, 100.9, and it has, again, another player with that favourable round 13 bye. So NWM, he had a career best season in 2024, lifting his average from 85.1 to 100.9, which included 12 100-plus scores and 2 120-plus scores. The good thing about NASIAH is he loves to kick, with kicks on average making up 77% of his total disposals, which translates to points on tap, especially combined with his 77% disposal efficiency. So a great user of the footy, and he loves to kick. A bit like, I guess, Kevin Bartlett, who never really handballed at all. But again, a couple of elements there that is conducive to Supercoach scoring. And this dominance with footy in hand is highlighted by the fact his 100.9 average is made up of 54.8 points coming from disposals alone, which ranks him 4th of any player behind Ryan, Whitfield, and Zorko. So another big tick for him. But one potential downside to this is if St Kilda's defence is starved for possession at any point in any game, especially against those lesser opponents where the ball may not be down in defence for St Kilda too much. So they are impacted overall, St Kilda's defence, but in that impact as well, that carries across obviously to Wanganeen-MILERA's output as well, which is negatively impacted because he can't get his hands on the ball to score those points. And that is obviously the main avenue to his Supercoach points, as I just highlighted there. So it does make sense and is something to just be a little bit wary of. However, the nice scoring buffer for NWM is the fact that he is more often than not relied upon for handling a bulk of the kickouts, courtesy of his clean foot skills, having taken the most for St Kilda in 2024 with 91, ahead of SINCLAIR as the next best with 65. And to add the cherry on top, he plays on in 95% of those, good boy, which is Supercoach gold to generate easy points. And like SINCLAIR, as I mentioned, he does have that very favourable round 13 bye. For me personally, I had him last season. I started him in my team because I foresaw a little bit of a breakout there. At his current price point and coming off that 2024 average, is there much room for improvement? Yes, potentially, but I think if SINCLAIR goes back to defence to play that role a bit more full-time, you know, it leaves me questioning, is there enough slice of the pie to go around? I think there maybe is, because most teams kind of have those two, distributors that can run and carry the ball. And Wanganeen-MILERA and SINCLAIR, I think, are definitely two players that fit that mold of that role. But yeah, it just leaves me questioning, I guess his ability to give me value. I guess a return on investment is probably the best way to say it at that price point that he's currently at. Let's move on to the next guy, and it is Max Holmes, priced at 533.9k as a defender midfielder. 2024 average was 99.1 and does unfortunately have the two byes, round 3 and round 16 as well. Now, Holmes took his game to new heights in 2024 with a career best average of 99.1, eclipsing his previous best of 79.8 in 2023. And one such area that he does dominate in is his possession, ranking 3rd behind Flanders and SHEEZEL as defenders who averaged the most points from that category, making up 40.2 of the 99.1 points in his average from week to week, which is just incredible. Holmes was also introduced into the most CBAs across his career with 32%, and it would seem as though this garners mixed results really without much of a trend. So the positive is a bit of a, if there is a shift in role, it didn't really impact him overly with his output in a negative sense. So, if he plays a bit more time in the midfield in 2025, I think we can expect to see him at a very, very similar output. But, I guess having said all that, What can be a worry is when he's being shifted to the wing at various stages, as he was in 7 games, which saw his average drop to 86.6 across those games. Could he take his game up another level in 2025? Quite possibly, but with that extra bye in round 3, it makes him a little bit less of an appealing option from the get-go, I think. So for me personally, he's not in my side. The DPP is very, very handy, but if he wasn't having that, extra bye, the early bye, I might consider him, but, because he does, no, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. But let's move on to another guy here, and it is James Sicily, 532.9k, 2024 average 98.9, and only has the 1 bye in round 15. Now, it wasn't really a season to remember for Sicily, as he posted a sub 100 average for the first time in 5 seasons with just that 98.9. And the big reason behind this was his lowered ceiling, posting only 4 120 plus scores compared to the heights of 7 and 8 over the past 2 seasons. Could he bounce back in 2025? Well, that does come down to his role largely. With the inclusion of new recruits Battle and Barras, does that impact his ability to play that roaming loose defensive role that he's enjoyed so well previously? Does it free him up? Maybe. Or does the inclusion of the 2 extra tools perhaps make Sam Mitchell consider moving him forward and become more of a swingman as Clarko used him in previous seasons? As such, we'll have to keep a close eye as to what his role he is given across the preseason matches and assess from there. I've heard 2 different sides of the coin with this. I've heard people say that the inclusion of Battle and Brass will actually free him up. And I've also heard, as I said, that it may prompt Mitchell to potentially use him forward a bit more. Without Kelshi playing early on for the Hawks, I think he has been ruled out for the early matches off the back of injury. It does mean that they're a little bit down on troops up forward, so they might actually shift him forward for the early rounds at the very least. But yeah, he's someone that at this stage, even though I love Sicily, I'm looking elsewhere at the moment, but not completely ruled out altogether as yet. Let's move on to the next guy, and it is the last of these Premos. Bailey Dale, priced at 528.1k. 2024 average was 98 and only has the 1 bye in round 12. Now, from the get-go, Dale presents slight value given his overall average contains 1 game where he was randomly the starting sub, classic Bevo, and only scored a score of 12. So if we discount that, it raises his average from the 98 up to 101.9. The big positive is his role, as he was by far and away the most relied upon for kickouts for the Dogs, ranked number 1 with 102, and 93 of those were played on as well, ahead of Bramble as the next best total with 68 kick-ins. The big knock on Dale's game, however, continues to be the fact that he does tend to have a lowered floor compared to other Primos in defence, with 10 scores below 90, which ranks him last of the top 15 averaging defenders in 2024. Likewise, his ability to score consistently above 100 is another area of struggle, ranked 14th of the top 15. So I guess to summarise Dale, he's always struggled with those 2 aspects of his game, with that lowered floor and lowered ceiling, which isn't really conducive to, consistency overall. Yes, I think he is value with that sub score in his average, pulling that down. So he presents value off the back of that alone. But for me, I'm going to be looking elsewhere. If you want to take a punt on him, go right ahead, but not for me at this stage, but not definitively, of course. None of these guys that I've ruled out are definitive because we need to see some, exposed form across the preseason. Well, that does round us out for this episode, looking at all things Primo defenders. Hopefully there's enough there to feast your ears and eyes upon. And next part, of course, we'll be looking at mid-prices in the next episode. Before we sign off, of course, don't forget to join in the discussion by leaving a comment down below if you're watching us on YouTube, or you can alternatively send us a DM on our other social channels, which you can find us on Facebook, search SuperCoach Edge, Insta, likewise, TikTok as well. On Twitter/X, you can find us at SuperCoach_Edge. You can find myself at DamoJ88 and Liam at LiamEvans_95. Again, thank you so much for your support. As I clicked over to this, actually, the subscriber number went up 1952 to 1953. So maybe someone's tuning in and listening telepathically because this obviously isn't a live episode. But if you can help us get to that 2K subscriber mark by the start of the season, we are now 47 subscribers away from that mark. That would be absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much in advance. And thank you to those people that have shown their support thus far. And if you have yet to join our SuperCoach Edge Open League, make sure to do so. We've got about 450 plus people in there at the moment, which is absolutely incredible. So make sure to add to that number. And to join, if you have yet to do so, the code is 623082. So 623082. Punch that in and join our SuperCoach Edge Open League, where we do have a SuperCoach Championship ring up for grabs for the winner come the end of the season. And if you have yet to join our Discord as well, which of course is the platform that we house our SuperCoach Edge community, make sure to join that. I will put a link down in the description in YouTube, so make sure to jump across to YouTube if you're not already and check out the link in there. Click on that and sign up. It's free to do so. And in that, it's virtually a platform to chat about SuperCoach 24/7. We've got banter, we've got tips and tricks, we've got trade advice, we've got interview discussion, we've got Rate My Team as well, and much, much more. So make sure to check that out, and it would be an absolute pleasure to have you join. But that's it, ladies and gents. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.